feel free to type in the chat panel. But Blake, it is about jobs. It's about Tesla. It's about autos. What do you think?
What? Oh, I didn't even, my camera's not even on.
I
Hang
know
on.
your
There we
camera's
go.
off. I
Hey,
told you.
I know I
You just
told you
wanted the surprise.
yeah, it's surprise.
Jobs.
It's job. No, I've told you I'm not firing on all cylinders, which is funny that we're doing the the automotive today. But
We don't need cylinders.
not
It's
where
like
we're
Back to
going.
the Future. Just throw some garbage in
The
back of the.
Mr. Fission.
That's right.
Yeah, or Mr. Fusion. I don't remember. Fission or
I think it was
Fusion.
Fusion.
Standard fare. Normally we do barbecue, but I didn't even barbecue this week. It was I'm feeling a
That's
little bit
unusual for you.
trauma. It
Any
is,
baking?
I don't even remember eating yesterday. So it
And
was
for
a
those of you
what?
guys who don't know, I mean Blake loves to barbecue or smoke, and he loves to bake as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
you
yeah.
guys you
So
guys should try Blake's cinnamon rolls.
yeah, anytime, just give me a couple days heads up that I know you're coming. So, if we're jumping into jolts and to non-farm payroll, the reason only jolts wasn't yesterday, but it's something that I always pay attention to in conjunction with non-farm payroll. So, do the non-farm payroll data, does it look good to you? Does it look, and all of you that are out there, what are you hearing? Are people steady in their jobs? Are they losing jobs? Are they seeing layoffs? Because we had all these millions and millions and millions of jobs announced that were going to be the layoffs. Have we seen it? Are we seeing changes? Because it is a survey, so there's a lot of room. In fact, Brandon, do you know what the current estimate as far as the margin of error for non-farm payroll report is?
I don't know what the margin of error is. However, I do know they get only about 2/3 of the responses in. So we got the non-farm employment change, which is employer produced, and then we have the unemployment rate, which is household produced. And they get
Yeah,
about 2/3 of them. I'm like, why don't they use employment data or sorry, a payroll data for this? But they
yeah,
don't.
they used to. ADP doesn't even do it anymore, but they
Yeah.
used to
Well, they
have
wanted it. They
actual payroll
styled it
data.
after this.
Yeah. And so the numbers I've heard that there's a margin of error of about 238,000 jobs. So that means when we come in at 191, or which was forecasted, or 206, which was the actual number, that could be negative. It could be positive. It could be
Right.
hugely positive.
I know.
It's just all over the board. But what I saw is that Canada saw their not just a unemployment rate uptick like we had, going from 6.2 to 6.4. We went from 4 to 4.1% unemployment rate, but their employment change, they lost 1.4 thousand jobs. Now you need to adjust that, kind of basically multiply that out and assume that if they are expecting to add, or if they miss 1.4 thousand, then it's like they lost 14,000 net jobs. And we are connected at the hip with Canada. The US economy and the Canadian economy are connected at the hip. We depend on each other. So if they're already seeing this slowdown, and keep in mind, they're doing a lot of manufacturing, lumber, metals, mining. Canada is a big commodity country. To me, that is another warning. So we have a margin of error that could be negative, but Canada reported what would be equivalent to the US reporting about 14,000 job misses
Yeah.
or
Well,
decline.
and it's one of those things. I mean, July. I mean, we're entering into sorry, this is June. We go July, we go August. I mean, August is the most heavily negatively revised. So, I mean, we think about seasonal adjustments in jobs. August, I believe, is the month where they have the heaviest negative seasonal adjustment, obviously, because we got growing season, we're harvesting, etc. But so again, I mean, who knows what this number is? But the thing is, you don't look at non-farm, you don't look at jobs as an indication of the overall health of the economy, because if jobs are going down, we're already in recession anyway. So there's things that lead and lag, and this is one that really heavily lags.
Yeah.
Um, Other announcement this week, we saw ISM manufacturing in contraction. We saw ISM services PMI in contraction. We did, however, see oh, where was the global? It's not on here, but that was it was in the positive territory if I add in some of the lower tier stuff, but the kind of dueling banjos on manufacturing PMI. But we're in contraction right now for ISM manufacturing and non-manufacturing. I mean, we're adding jobs. We're seeing the unemployment rate tick up a little bit. And here's the little engine that could average hourly earnings up 0.3%. We're barely keeping up with prices, but we do have some inflation data coming up next week.
Well, and I looked at if you want to put a number to that wage, it was 10 cents.
Yeah.
10 cents for June. So the average wage increased is that people got 10 cents more per hour. And when we're talking about $20 an hour, all you Californians that are making $20 an hour minimum wage, have that 10 cents help you out.
Yeah.
If you work
Those that still have a job at 20 bucks an hour, but
yeah, that's true
yeah,
too.
I mean, but yeah, and we're gonna see CPI. They're gonna declare, mission accomplished if they get a month over month number at 0% next week. But man, this is just we're dealing with very, very high prices. Consumers are very stretched. And again, we're seeing some of the impact here. We're not really seeing the major effect on employment yet. But like you said, I mean, this is a highly variable number. We could see revisions happen in the future, and just all of a sudden, hey, we're in recession. Hey, we had negative jobs numbers. I mean, these are things that happen all the time. I always go back to 2008. We posted a GDP in the second quarter of 2008 of 4.1%, and yet we were in recession not a year later at the same point. So
Yeah.
it's these are
Well, and
heavily lagging numbers, so just be careful with really taking a lot of stock in them. But the market does look at it. But what we
I
got?
was just going to, the revisions have already happened a number of times. We have, of the last 10, 7 of them have been revised lower.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
which helps this
7.
number too, right? You lower
Yeah.
the other one, we raise the next one, right?
Yeah. No one looks at that. No one says, hey, did you revise those ones? Don't worry about that. Let me tell you today's.
Right, the sleight of hand.
Yeah.
Now we're trying to determine how does the market receive such an announcement in terms of the jobs numbers. The initial reaction was to kind of spike up here, but then we've drifted back to the same level we were pre-announcement. Um, I mean, again, are we at the point where good news is bad news is good news? I mean, a tick up in the unemployment rate probably doesn't mean a lot. We're adding 200,000 jobs, better than expected. I mean, the market so far doesn't seem to be cheering it on. But I will say, after Powell's comments earlier in the week, it looks like we're angling towards a higher probability of 2 rate cuts this year, which did help boost the market on Wednesday.
Well, and the market's been very insistent on pricing that in since last year. So
Yeah,
I still don't know how much I'm going to bet on that, but it is interesting. And
yeah,
one other little, go ahead.
no, I mean it's so hard. I mean, like they talk out of both sides of their mouth, right? The duplicity of the Fed, of Jerome Powell. I mean, who knows what they're going to do, right? I mean, the inflation side of it says how can they? But again, I mean, if we post a inflation print next week of 0% month over month, um, does Powell all of a sudden look at that and say, "Hey, we got room to cut now"? I mean, looking right here, CPI month over month. That's the headline number. Core strips out food and energy, but can we really look at that and say, "Okay, hey, 0%, we can follow the pathway of Canada, of the ECB as well, and cut rates"?
Well, look at your year over year, though. That 3.3% year over year, if you compound that from 2020 when they started spending all the money, it's up 21% almost.
Yeah, I mean,
Rates are up 21% since in the last 4 years. And so that 3.3% is great that they've taken their foot off the gas pedal a little bit, but
yeah.
it's still high. It still impacts buyers. And by the way, Jolts, I was going to bring this up before we left. Jolts is still showing that we are a surprise increase as far as number of jobs, but it's still leaving us to roughly the same number of uh, openings per unemployed person. And that's one of the things that I think is important to pay attention to. What's available out there as far as job openings per unemployed person? There are 0.8. And at the peak, there was 1.5. So we're about half the number of job openings per unemployed person. So
we take a look at the markets here. I mean, the ES is again basically up slightly, 0.05%. If we look at bonds, ZB, again, a bit of a whipsaw, but prices slightly higher, yields coming down a little bit. The big surprise of the weekend is Bitcoin, which is down, a decent amount here. We're down about 7.3%. We go back to a daily chart, you kind of see a little bit better here. Bitcoin's a big sell-off on Wednesday. Surprisingly, after Monday, it was a pretty bullish, a lot of option activity coming in long into Mara, into BITO, for example, Wolf, Terra Wolf. And then all of a sudden that narrative flipped on Wednesday with bearish option activity, put option buying on Wednesday. We kind of talked about that during my session, but you look at Mara here, it's angling to be down about $1.50 on the open. So we are seeing weakness in Bitcoin over the weekend or over the holiday. Apparently too much bean dip. I don't know what it was.
Well, I actually saw that what people are giving credit to is there's a huge outflow of these monster players, a bunch of money going into Mt. Gox, a bunch of money going into the exchanges. So it's just separating and going into
Yeah,
the
time
US
to
dollar.
liquidate.
Yeah, and so it's not that they're being taken out of the exchange area or whatever you want to call that. I don't know what you call that because I would keep saying exchange. I don't know if that's the right word for these.
The
But
dealer.
there's the huge amount of money that's left a specific coin, including Doja and Ether. But Bitcoin was huge as well. And they're saying these are not just small moves, they're millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of moves. And that the Mt. Gox one that was such a big move that they're saying this isn't over. And so they're pricing in that it could continue. Now, would you think Bitcoin, I'm not a fan. I think it's here to stay. I think the blockchain is here forever, which I'm glad about. But do you use technical analysis on something like this chart?
I've debated that for a long time. I mean, if this a number of years ago, I wrote cryptocurrency newsletter for over a year. It's just like a lot of it you can't, right? I'm like, there's just no consistent price action. But for Bitcoin, though, I think you can. I think you can employ technical analysis on it. I think the fact that we're breaking support here, we're forming a lower high and a lower low right now. I mean, this obviously there's going to be a bit of an unwind here, which Bitcoin's been kind of part of that speculative excess, right? I mean, Mara has been part of those list of companies that are part of the short squeeze when things go well. I mean, are we seeing the unwind? I mean, Nvidia this week, I mean, it was is not exactly the most bullish tone. I mean, we saw that kind of bounce on 625. We kind of broke through that yesterday. I kind of talked about during my session back on the 25th. We'll probably see Nvidia trade in this range. But if we're going to see a breakdown in shares of Mara, but also the Bitcoin space, I mean, are we starting to see some of that speculative excess come out? Maybe it's just technical by virtue of flows and stuff like that coming out of these dealers' coffers. But man, I don't know. It just makes you not feel super hot about technology if Bitcoin's breaking down because they have been fairly paired at the hip in large part. I mean, obviously, technology recently has been performing a bit better, but just makes you wonder: are we going to start to see some of those speculative flows start to come out? And that's a big deal. I mean, how
Yeah.
many how many guys are long Bitcoin right now? Um, feel free to
Or
share. I mean,
think
this is kind of a
and
big
whether
move today.
yeah, whether you're long actually in your account or saying this is where
Right.
I'm getting ready to buy in or build in. Are you bullish here
Are
or
you
long
bullish
into
here?
that? Because it's interesting. I've been watching the comments in the chat and we've been talking back to some inflation. Dell being a beef rancher and prices are still going up. Egg prices are over $3 a dozen. And feed, if you're raising your own chickens, have gone way up. Kind of fascinating. And to see inflation is still hot in the key areas. And there's a thing going around right now that's even pointing that grocery bills are not just up 20%. That was the overall inflation number, but grocery bills are up 100 and some odd percent. If you
Well,
look
there's that.
back,
Yeah.
just yeah,
There was that guy that he took his shopping cart, Walmart shopping cart,
yeah. It was he
and
pulled
then
his
placed the
history.
exact same order, cost 3 times more
Yeah,
than it did 2 years ago. So I
exact
mean, this is a
same
big deal. I
product.
mean,
Yeah,
and I found it interesting. We got our bulls and bears here, but Powell gets dovish, and all of a sudden, what happens? We see big breakouts in metals. I,
yeah.
I don't think that's a coincidence. I mean, if we're going to
No,
devalue the dollar, I mean, this is the place to consider going. But let's talk autos.
let's do
So,
it.
So
So,
Tesla obviously had a fantastic week, had a major breakout. And again, rolling higher. I mean, Tesla's more than really just cars, and there's Tesla Energy that a lot of people are looking as an up and comer. But Blake, I mean, what's your thought about the auto space at the moment?
well, and I think I love the fact that you introduced the idea that Tesla is more than just automotive manufacturing. It is a tech company and it acts like a tech company, but
Yeah.
it is still left in the category and a huge percentage of consumer discretionary. But if I were to ask you, which of the main manufacturers that are publicly traded, obviously, I'd love to look at Fiat Chrysler, because they're a dog, but they don't, the symbol doesn't pull anymore.
Oh,
But
they're a DOG, not a DAWG.
yeah, a dog like not one that you want to trade, not one that you want to own. Um, who would you just out of guessing as far as sales, since we're talking about automotive industry, who do you think is doing the best in sales? Who's performing better year over year? Any ideas? I'm asking
Well,
I'm not
I got
asking
some
Brandon
loyalty
here.
stats.
I
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not asking Brandon here. This is where you type in on your computers here. Type on the main page, type in our Wise Pub. Who would you think? Who's consistently performing as far as their fundamentals? And we've got Brett's pulling for Ford. I knew he was a Ford guy. I grew up in a Chevy household, the GM Chevy household. My grandpa was a
Yeah.
Mopar man, but like I said, you
Yeah, the
can't
Chevy
really.
Impala station wagon.
There you go. There you go. Ford was the four-letter F word when I grew up. Um, yeah, so we've got all sorts of comments here. And what you're finding is that everybody says, hooray for Tesla. And they say, oh, Ford and GM, they're stinking it up. And but if we look at the fundamentals behind this, and we look at the sales per share year over year growth, Ford's had 4 great years and they're up 9.6% year over year as far as their sales per share. GM's up 14% year over year and have had the same increase, and this last year has exploded for them. So we kind of abandoned thinking about GM, but look at that chart.
Mm.
Tell me that is a bad chart. Tell me that you would rather be invested in Tesla on that move versus that last recovery off that low.
Yeah, it's for almost doubling the price for GM. You know, it's just with those things, with these automakers, it's like you hear, okay, we're kind of scaling back our investment in EVs, and all
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden it takes off, right? I mean, so it seemed like the story behind this move was much more about cost cutting than it was about growth. You know,
Yeah.
and then we all of a sudden we hear like, oh, we got to do the discounts. Maybe we're reinvigorating some of the sales of EV sales, which have kind of been an issue for these companies. But all of a sudden, okay, we're scaling back investment in the one area they said where the growth was. I mean, Ford's getting rid of a lot of models, and Ford on the EV side, the e-tron, or sorry, not the e-tron, is the e-tron's the Mach-E. I
Yeah.
mean, they're
The Lightning or the
yeah.
Mach-E. They
Yeah,
have
the
two of them.
Mach-E, they're people aren't coming back to it. I mean, they're
Yeah.
in terms of buying another one, GM's a bit further down the line. Their loyalty is a little bit better. There's a question in the chat about my bearishness in Mara. Gene, this is really kind of short term, just to give you a heads up. It's more short term just because of the option activity. I've been bullish on Mara off of the lows here and again here. But this is kind of a dangerous territory, I think, with the move in Bitcoin. But you saw the lead in on Wednesday with the unusual option activity, the puts being bought, just kind of signaling, hey, we're probably cooling off here just a little bit. But I got a little bit of stats and just to throw out here in terms of loyalty and the desire to buy another one. Um, this is EV fuel type loyalty luxury brands average. We're up here around the 70% range. I mean, so the outlook in terms of people wanting to buy an EV or buy another EV is up quite a bit from where we were back in 20 and 21. But you look at where all the loyalty is. So, I mean, if we think about, Ford, GM, these are not on here, but these are luxury brands. So, if we throw Tesla in luxury brand territory, Tesla has a very high loyalty in terms of when we want to buy another EV, we're going to buy Tesla. But you'll notice here Porsche and Audi kind of picking up speed against BMW, Jaguar, and Mercedes Benz. And I really like the looks of a Porsche. I don't know how reliable they are,
You
but
take that back. Porsche, it's Porsche. Thank you very much.
I like Porsche.
Porsche.
I
Anyway,
did meet a German yesterday, so
like it's the only German car that I think you can
Spatzenwalter.
rely on. Yeah,
You what? Yeah.
it's the only German car worth owning. Um, I've owned them pretty much every car. By the way, I'm at car 27 in my life, so I'm a car guy. And yeah, I
You have no
no
loyalty. You're at
don't
27
don't
already.
yeah. I've owned 27 cars in my life. And I've owned a BMW. I've owned a Porsche. I rotate it through. When you have more than one, you just rotate through.
Yeah.
It's just anyway. No, I'm definitely a fan of Porsche. But when you look at Jaguar has its overlap with Ford and Audi, and or certainly I'm looking at your lines here. I'm
Audi,
looking.
BMW.
Yeah, so Audi's surprising me is what I was looking at. So trying to make sure I was looking at the right color. Audi surprised me that it's had that much recovery because I haven't seen a lot of Audi anything.
Yeah.
So
I've seen a lot of BMWs. A friend of our family, like her husband, does the models, like they build the model cars for licensing. And
oh,
he did the BMW. Is it i7 or I can't remember the shoot. What's the one that's kind of funky looking, the sports car looking one?
the R8.
No, that's Audi, but it was
Oh,
BMW. But
oh, the BMW one. Oh, the weird little
it's
egg
the sports
thing.
car one. It looks like a mid-engine, but it's obviously it's an electric. It's got kind
Oh
of the
yeah,
fin on the the kind of like pass-through fin. But
yeah. I
UK
can't
race
remember which
EVs
model.
are actually greater airplay out. I know, look, I mean, there's the other side of it, but I mean, we're talking about investing, right? And these companies are producing it. But one of the biggest things here is the fact that loyalty, 3-year percentage point change. We are seeing that there's greater, again, people coming into the space, desiring electric vehicles. But the fact of the matter is, we've seen an uptick recently in EV sales. Prices have come down quite a bit.
Yeah.
I struggle with the idea of buying a used EV. I was talking with a friend of mine. He bought a Nissan Leaf, a couple years old in 2013. It's still going strong. It's only down to about a 75-mile range at the moment, but
Oh,
you're gonna have to
there's
replace
some
the
range
battery.
anxiety.
Yeah,
Yeah.
range anxiety. Hybrid vehicles lost 6.5%. So you think about the difference in terms of holding their value. It's a big deal. Customer consideration for purchasing an EV has fallen 52% from the high of 81% in 2021. And I threw Toyota Motor Company and QS because, again, those are kind of the forefront of the solid state battery. But Toyota Motor Company has been promising and not delivering. They keep pushing out the date. Now it's like 2030. And my goodness,
Yeah,
2028
and
maybe.
I know, and Ray and I've had even conversations on the side that Toyota's either going to be the king or just kind of melt along the path is just consistent with its loyalty, but they are on the cusp if they will actually deliver on their new products. I love what this is they're working on. They're as far as the I don't even want
Like
to we shouldn't call it
750-mile
hybrid. Yeah,
range, charge in
yeah.
10 minutes. I mean, it
Well, and then
sounds great. I mean, solid
and then
state
the
should,
hydrogen and their
yeah.
ammonia based hydrogen, and so there's a lot of things that's coming along, but and
And
they're
they're not
already
getting rid of their
producing.
their combustion engine
Yeah,
either.
yeah, and so I think Toyota Motors TM is going to be phenomenal,
Yeah.
but I go back and say look at TM, look at Tesla, and look at GM, and tell me which is the better stock as far as just the last 6 months, last year, and
Yeah.
from investments. Forget whether
Right.
I don't care if you like, I will buy Ford stock, even though I've never owned a Ford. Out of my 27 vehicles, I've never owned a Ford
Yet. No.
yet. No, it isn't yet. I don't have brand loyalty. Clearly, you can't own 27 vehicles and have brand loyalty. Um,
Easy like Sunday morning. I mean, well, I wrote an article for our blog back here in December of 2020 talking about Toyota Motor Company EV kind of change and Tesla. And my thought process was, I mean, Tesla had like way overtaken the estimates, very much like an Nvidia. And the idea is that Toyota Motor Company was this car to buy, was the car, or in this case, the stock to buy. But I'm wondering. I mean, Tesla goes through these surges, and all of a sudden, they start to perk back up again. With other facets. TSLA. Sorry, let's do that. Again, I talked about the fact that historically Tesla goes through a 3-year hiatus. You get the big boost, it lays down for 3 years, and then all of a sudden this week we see this breakout in Tesla. I'm wondering, okay, is this the 3-year hibernation waking up in Tesla? We'd previously had it back here, not as much movement. I don't have a log scale up, but it usually makes a big run, doubles in price, goes through a 3-year hiatus, then we break out. This looks very similar to what we saw back in 2019.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't know if you've looked at the Fred's data on total vehicle sales. I did pull the Fred's data on there, and we slammed down in 2020. We spiked up when we had that huge demand, no one could deliver, and a huge demand for used car sales, total vehicle sales. I mean, it spiked up all the way to April 2021. That was the highest we got, and we pulled back off of that high, and we've never returned to the highs of 2015, 2016, 2018. We've never gone back to that. If you take out that one spike, we have not returned to pre-COVID levels as far as car sales. So we see all the demand, and it was a supply chain. It truly was a supply chain issue that made the cost go up, and our demand levels, our total number of vehicles, is near the 4-year high, but it's never gone back up, and it's by about 10 to 15% lower. And we held in this 19,000 or 19,000 million car sales in all those different years besides recessions, and we've never returned back to those highs.
I mean, it's
So,
gonna be really difficult to go back to the consumption levels with all the transfer payments, et cetera. But I mean, this made a huge move. Obviously, we have earnings, deliveries help spark it as well. But Tesla, the interesting thing, if we look at, for example, 42 days, since I have the August up here. I mean, the great thing about this move in Tesla is that we're experiencing positive skew. I mean, rising call volatility. I mean, you can construct a pretty cheap out of the money call spread, buy the lower strike, sell the higher strike, because of the rising vol structure, able to buy the low vol, sell the high vol. Just pick how high, how speculative you want to get here. We're very overextended here in the near term. And you'll notice but today we're up $5. I mean, is Tesla the new Nvidia? Is it the new Apple that it had its moment in the sun as well? But at least right now, again, you're seeing rotation at Tesla. We're breaking out of a longer term kind of downtrending formation here with this week's move. And we could readily get back to prior highs at around 385 here. And given the trends of stocks recently, this could happen relatively quickly. So this stock is on my bull list only because of the movement we're seeing and the fact that you can get a cheap out of the money call spread because of the skew, rather than buying the stock at this level, rather than buying a call or something like that. You can get something on really cheap, pretty cheap there.
yeah,
Let's
and
take a look at our bulls and
it's
bears.
too hot for me. I just can't chase it. I
Yeah,
can't chase
well,
that move.
and that's the thing is, like, I mean, you got to be prepared that you may take max loss. But again, all this means is that you can construct an out of the money, buy a 260, tell us you sell a 265. That it just makes it cheap. That's about $1.70 there, right? For a $5 right spread.
Mm-hmm.
And if we get to 265, great. I mean, that's not so far out of the money here, right? But it is very extended here. You're just basically playing an expectation that this thing's going to continue to run at least for the next week or so, and boom, you're done. But anyway, so we got our bulls and bears list here. Blake, I thought it was really interesting that we saw on Wednesday Powell gets a little bit dovish. I think it was on Tuesday. Gold, for example, staged a breakout. Gold stocks,
Mm-hmm.
copper. I mean, the entire metal space. Let's bring up an ETF here. Pick on Wednesday. Everything's I mean, just the whole metal space is breaking out.
Yeah.
At least off their lows.
Yeah, definitely off their lows. I mean, gold, the way I saw it is just a solid bounce. But pick, I would say is truly a breakout out off the lows because it made a new low and returned back to the previous pattern. But gold is in a massive, massive sideways, but it is slightly pointing higher. I just don't see any way to go around it. That why are we pushing gold higher? Do we have higher demand? Are we expecting the economy, global economy to grow? When we see non-farm payroll out of Canada sliding, when we see unemployment rising in Europe, when we see that they cut rates and their inflation is kicking back in, I think it's an inflation hedge still on the global stage. And this is
Yeah.
something I've been highlighting on Kitco, as I always share, that shows you how gold has moved in all the currencies so that you know, is it gold or is it the dollar? Is it
Yeah.
gold or is it the euro? And gold has been up globally across the board, is showing a lot of strength in every single currency besides South African rand, which is the mining place. So they make money because of gold prices going higher.
Yeah. And you can construct this in Thinkorswim by doing a relative strength study. Just put in the currency. The dollar has to be the base. But this is basically gold priced in euros approximately.
Mhm.
So if we think about it this way, we take basically GC is priced in US dollars already, divided by the euro, which is euro/US dollar. Dollars cancel. We're left with GC and euro. So you can construct it, but Kitco is probably an easy way to go as well. But again, you see very flatness here. I mean, the fact is, I mean, gold is basically holding its own against all major currencies for all intents and purposes. But just in the near term, the last couple of days, we're seeing again weakness generally. And gold's moving higher since this is priced in dollars. We're seeing gold move higher in dollars. And we did see there was some significant option activity on Wednesday in GDX. Again, I mean, on the upside here, we're looking for a breakout. Another metal I'm looking at is Vale. There's been a lot of big option call trades here the last couple weeks. We finally broke out on Wednesday as well. Again, we're looking at kind of retracing past levels, but this is one I watch frequently. Pays the dividend, but it's not really all that consistent. I mean, yours from last week was SCCO, 2 weeks ago rather,
Yep.
breaking out here. I mean, so again, I mean, a lot of these metal stocks going back to pick broke out on Wednesday on the dovishness from Powell, weaker dollar.
Yeah, well, in the dollar, even that's what's been surprising to me is the dollar had a massive, well, I should say the euro had a massive breakout versus the dollar, and the dollar index fell. And I just don't see the differentiation between the currencies. I still say it's a global view, it's a global change, a global shift. And so I've been a little surprised to see how much the dollar lost its value off of the hope that they cut two rates when Europe's already done it, and there's a sizable run up for the euro, but it's still in the long term sideways.
Yeah. So mentioned the Aussie broke out against the dollar, which obviously, if again, even in gold terms, it's gold's going up relative to the Aussie as well as what you're
Yeah.
saying there. So yeah,
Yeah.
again, this is the from my perspective, this is the predicament that Jay Powell and the Fed has is that, I mean, how do they cut rates? Because we're seeing the immediate response to being dovish as the dollar sells off and commodities are going higher. I mean, it just seems like they're boxed in the corner, the Fed conundrum all over again. Is that how do they cut rates without spurring on inflation? And this is showing a very limited ability to be able to achieve that.
Um, so just so you know, we do have we're going to go a little bit over here just a bit. So I do, and I'm telling the audience that you know that already, Brandon. But so as we're looking at these breakouts, and if inflation's going to, like, so they're caught in the corner. This is the reason why I know I'm jumping a little ahead, but this is the reason why I'm still looking at Capital One Financial as bearish. I do think that the consumer is stretched to the extreme. If you saw my video on Thursday, I was also looking at substitution into TJ Maxx, TJX. I always say TJ Maxx, TJX. And I'm just seeing that we are behaving in a way that is saying I can't buy from the regular stores. And so I'm bearish ANF and bullish TJX. I'm looking at starting to say the consumer is stretched to the extreme, and we need to watch for their positions to, or their money spent to be favoring things that are cheaper because they can't afford it. That inflation is still too high. And we're seeing it from gold and copper and silver, and they're showing us that the market knows that if the Fed is going to cut rates, yes, the dollar's going to lose power, but we're also going to see inflation come ripping back.
And that's the realities. I mean, even oil /CL here. I mean, oil prices continue to ebb higher, and we're not moving up quickly, but you look at the product depth in here, and what you see is that maybe we'll see it. Don's going to join us in a couple minutes, but you just see this backwardation even further steepening. Like the idea of a shortage. I mean, oil prices just seem like they want to continue to move higher.
Hey,
Companies
Brandon,
like Exxon. Go ahead.
we have a lot of people that are newer to this. Tell them what backwardization is.
So backwardation is basically where you have falling prices. Now, if we're to look at the VIX and we saw a curve like this, it'd say, well, the market's expecting the VIX to fall. This is July, this is August, this is September, etc. Well, when you talk about a product that has physical storage, meaning that you store it at a point, you've got to lease it. You've got to finance the purchase of the oil. You've got to pay storage costs, but you can lease it out. And so what happens is at times, if there's kind of an implied shortage, the difference here, the net cost to carry is actually positive, where you're getting paid basically the difference in price here. So the idea is that these prices out in the future are going to converge with the current spot price in oil, and it creates upward lift in the price of oil. Now, certainly we've seen periods of short-term selling in oil, but it's really hard when you see that oil is in backwardation and the expectation is there's kind of a shortage in the future. All it means is that oil's going to have a hard time going down significantly, and the risk is still to the upside. And we've seen over the last week, companies like Devon Energy, typing it correctly. Don's here.
So you might
Devon
say
Energy in the
that
past week, PVE.
one man's contango is another one's backwardation. I'm just going to leave it at that.
That's right. But those again, for natural gas, I have good luck following the product depth curve on that. But for oil, it seems to be very consistent. Looked at it for many, many, many years. When you see this kind of flip, flattening the curve, steepening the curve, backwardation, contango, whatever you want to call it. Contango is just the opposite direction. This is where the cost of finance and store, et cetera, is very high. So you get a curve like that. And what's going to happen, these prices are going to converge this way. So just think of these are converging up. This is converging down if we have a flip the other direction.
Throw gold in there before we leave the backwardation and contango discussion.
You want to see this, or do you want to look at the chart?
Yeah, I want to hear Don talk about interrupt in the middle of your conversation, talking about contango.
Hey, man.
Well, gold's pretty flat, right? It's money. So.
It's Spanish for with tango. All right.
With Tango El Gato. What's that? What's that? Like Tango with the cat. I remember there's a movie, it was quote, but anyway. But Don,
it was Tango and Cash, and it sucked. That was a terrible movie. All right.
Tango and Cash, that's right.
Was that what's his name?
Sylvester Stallone.
No,
Kurt Russell. No, it was Kurt
Russell. You're right. No, he's right. It's Kurt Russell and
Kurt Russell.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I like Tango and Cash. It was those 80s, action movies. It was a little over the top.
Look, I just spent the last couple of yesterday we were watching like Back to Future, like 1, 2, and 3, because now it's on Netflix. And
right.
All right, I'm gonna grab screen share and we'll just get this thing going over here. Yeah. Okay.
So Don, you're about to close the GLD and out spread today. You think?
I don't know. I think it's going to be close. So at the open, we're going to be up $1.30. I may get a fill right at the open here on my GLD in out spread. It's bullish. Yeah, it's interesting. Some of the bullish trades are actually working over here. By the way, I'm cracking up over here. Turner and Hooch, Tango and Cash. What's the difference? That's
Turner and Hooch is good too.
So we're gonna open this morning. I'm gonna keep you guys on if that's okay with you. I'm just gonna torture you guys for the next hour. Come on, it's like the S&Ps are massively unchanged this morning. The bond market's got a little bit of movement. It's impossible to read volume hate how they do this over like holidays where they just kind of do a cumulative volume. So it's like 250,000 contracts, but I am a little bit surprised at, forget about what you think about the jobs number for a second, because I was actually, I tuned in from the time you guys are on. You push that aside. I'm actually surprised the futures are flat. There's a pretty good size expected move today. It's about a $26 expected move in the SPX. So I am a little bit surprised they're flat. If you take a look at the SPX, this is the just a 1 day, 1 minute, obviously not open yet. But the reason that I am pulling it up is there's the oh so important right here, upper edge of the expected move, and we're 17 handles north of that. To see markets pull back to it, I really wouldn't be surprised. But again, I am a bit surprised at the lack of oomph, if you will, behind this move. So when we open here in about 3 minutes, it's going to turn into the NVIDIA show once again. I saw NVIDIA received a downgrade this morning, not by really a big firm, but it's basically unchanged. There's no trade action in really anything but Tesla. By the way, I was literally like losing my crap over here listening to you guys talk about like EVs and cars. I start foaming at the mouth again. We'll come back to that one in a few minutes.
How backlogged is your Cybertruck? You're on the list,
No,
right?
yeah, I actually already received the invitation, which I can hold for like 6 months. And I already received, I was like first in that list. I don't want it until it's been out for a bit, and I'll explain that too.
You should have just said that. I don't want it. Period. Stop.
No. I'm wearing like a Jeep shirt today too. It's all wrong. Anyway, there's no price activity in anything this morning with exception to Tesla. You take a look at the financials, they're completely unchanged. Take a look at even at energy, it's completely basically unchanged. The bid offer spread's unchanged. Like the only mover on my screen right now, legit, is Tesla, which is up about $4 into the open. So we're going to open into a complete and utter slop fest. But again, I'm not bearing up on the day. I'm just looking at the upper edge of the SPX expected move, and that is basically 55.19. We popped above it, obviously, on Wednesday, much to my dismay. I'm a little surprised we did that too. The dollar's coming off nominally. Again, the jobs number, it didn't do squat to shake this marketplace up. The market right now is relatively convinced too of 2 rate cuts, which not sure I buy that one just yet. We'll talk about that a bit more after the cash open. But again, as we do come into the cash open, advanced decline line is going to be scattered and broken. The ticks are going to be scattered and broken. When I talk about a slop fest, I mean, I don't see anything definitive on the tape other than maybe, crypto, Bitcoin's getting hammered. The dollar's off nominally. Bonds have a bid, but just the damage the bonds had inflicted in last week of trade was dramatic. The bid back, it's if anything, this might be a great what I kind of call bounce and fade trade,
Yeah.
which we can look at that too in the
I mean, Powell, again, like, Powell dovish earlier in the week, and all of a sudden we think we're gonna cut rates, and you see a bid under treasuries. I still think it's gonna last. We got inflation coming up next week, which could move it, but I don't know, man. It's just I think we're pretty stretched in terms of the downside yield.
into the open we go. So here we are with a 50-50 advanced decline line. That's spectacular. Then we actually look at the S&Ps. We're going to see ticks, which are going to be, that's not the tick just yet. It takes a few seconds. There you go. Actually, the tick is more negative than I would have expected. Okay. Prognosis negative. And we just filled on that. There it is. The GLD trade just filled. So I had a feeling that one would go out. We're up about 50 some odd percent. I'm going to continue to work the GLD trade here for the first few minutes. If gentlemen just want to hang out, I want to make sure I can just get one more filled at this price before, of course, I send that trade out. Let's knock this down just to a 1 lot. Captain 1 lot rides again. Let's work this one. I'm going to work one at $1.80. Huh? What are you thinking? $1.80 sounds pretty good. Yeah, maybe. No. Okay. No comments. No comment. Oh man, the platform is slow. I can feel it. Anyway, I'm just probing with this order over here. Come in at $1.78. Dun, dun. All right, I'm gonna send it out then at $1.77, which is better than we were anticipating for a fill. Yeah, you see like the waiting over here, I'm losing my mind, like waiting in between orders. I really am. There we go. We can definitely fill there. Cool. All right, so we know exactly where we can get filled now. And we will go ahead and copy this. And we'll get this one ready for sending. All right. I'm gonna leave one more working. I'm gonna work that one at 79 and make sure everybody's gonna be able to get out of this trade. So if you are in the GLD in-out spread, trade them if you got them, I guess. Let's all make sure that we get out of this thing. I'm gonna work one at 78. I don't seem to be able to get out at anything but $1.77, but that's okay. So I'm working right now, two of these things, and there we go. I just filled at $1.78 too.
So for those who don't know, we got people joining us on YouTube as well. So our TheoTrade members, we send out trade alerts. One of the trade alerts we send out are called in-out spreads, where you buy, in this case, for a bullish in-out spread, buying the lower, sell the higher. And so as the price goes up and it goes in the money, we have a chance to close it out. And so the target's what, 55%, right, Don?
Wow, I just filled at $1.79. Yeah, we're killing it in that one. We're getting almost this one's almost that's a 60% return, right? Yeah, 60% return
Yeah.
based on some of the opening prices here. There you go. $1.13 was my entry. Average out right now is about $1.77, $1.78 in that neighborhood. So that's decent for a few days work. And again, the opening and closing dates, of all of this, what do we got? Trade open for 10 days. So effectively, just over 10 days in this trade. That's calendar days. Onward. I'm just taking a quick glance over here at GLP.
So Don, what is it about in GLD for 10 days here? I mean, what is it about the in-out spread that you feel just? So I know people out there, they buy options. I mean, there's different strategies. What is it about the setup here in gold that just made it look like, hey, it was a good opportunity for in-out spread?
More than the setup, just the more than the technical setup,
Mm.
it was just this channeling kind of back and forth. Like the in-out spread negates almost everything that really hurts people that are first learning to trade options. The things that really beat people up when they learn to trade options. Got volatility exposure, you got some time decay. Again, so you're worried about, people are thinking about gamma risk and so forth. It negates all of that. There
Yeah.
isn't any real risk other than just a little bit of a directional bias. But in effect, all we need is that kind of choppy price action, and we're good to go. And that's exactly the kind of price action we've been getting inside of GLD. I'm actually frustrated that I didn't get on a TLT spread. I was trying to get a TLT spread on when we were at 94. I didn't fill, not at a good price anyway. I didn't fill at a good price. That one broke down, and I mean, look, it's a great strategy for newcomer, but even the most experienced traders. Why take all these like egregious risks that you don't need to? Again, the in-out spread gives you that ability. So one of the most interesting things right now in the marketplace, Blake, Brandon, is when you're looking at like index and index related products, volatility is incredibly and inherently low, right? Which everybody's like, oh man, we're trading in a 12 VIX. They totally freak out because volatility is this low. And the, I guess, ironic twist to that is that some of the action specifically in a couple of the big tech stocks, stuff that's, under this trade called dispersion, is the exact opposite. This is, if you think about that category of like what has always been quantified as like blue chip and the marquee in the marketplace. You look at something like Nvidia, it's trading a 50 vol and it's just completely a wild child. It's by no means, if I looked at this and didn't know its market capitalization, like if I didn't know that this was a $3 trillion company, okay, I would look at it and be like, damn, this thing is crazy versus the rest of the marketplace. Tesla, which obviously we all know has remained crazy. I mean, Tesla's clear up to like a 70 vol for next week. 70 vol. And I just don't think people can wrap their arms around that Tesla, which this week has been the product that's been driving S&Ps, is trading at a 70 vol, but you're trading an S&P with basically a 12 vol. And that doesn't resonate with people. And if that doesn't work for you in the previous, 6 months of this year, you've had a 50 vol product, okay, that's driving a 12 vol index. And this is actually what I would term negative implications of this wild dispersion trade. And for those of you who don't know what dispersion is, just it opens up to this. Okay. Trading firms are selling monstrous boatloads of amounts of index options. And in their sale of index options, okay, that's almost putting like a blanket on top of volatility. Not only are these firms selling index options, but then they're actually short-term volatility contracts, which is like vol, and we can talk about contango and backwardation, right? And then they take the proceeds from the sale of options inside of something like the SPX. So after if you go out there and you sell enough SPX options, it'll lower the vol. And that's exactly what's going on. And they'll take that, okay, and actually start to turn around and buy, for instance, NVIDIA options, which for the most part, it's a little bit of a self-fulfilling feedback loop to where you keep buying options in NVIDIA, it impacts the skew. In fact, we have positive, okay, skew inside of here where the calls are actually skewed higher than the puts in NVIDIA. So we're selling index vol like it's going out of style. We're buying equity vol, but very narrow scope of where we're buying equity vol. And you got yourself a full-fledged crap fest right now. And you're seeing that kind of play out, but it just continues to kind of resonate with me where the index product, you see this compressed volatility and this 12 VIX. To me, volatility, being short volatility, would probably be the most dangerous trade, okay, in the marketplace. Almost every month or every couple of weeks now, I'm probably just going to put on a long volatility trade of some type just for the hell of it. And just basically sit there and say like, hey, it's going to explode. And when it does, it's going to make, other volatility explosions look pretty meager. And that's not supposed to be a bearish connotation. The volatility itself is actually, because it's so compressed, is actually going to cause more volatility when it does explode.
Don, are you the next 50 Cent?
Oh yeah, that's been a
Remember
long time.
that?
Yeah,
Remember?
that was
Yeah,
like
it's like,
a decade ago, right?
yeah, the people, when vol stayed this low for so long, there's some guy putting there's hundreds of thousands of dollars on 50 cent call options on the VIX,
Yeah.
and waiting for that day. I don't know if
Yeah,
that ever paid out, did it?
well, so there was the VIX explosion, obviously, of 2018. The VIX explosion was pretty big. Pretty big. I mean, it put like products like XIV completely out of business in one trading session. So some of the volatility products went out like literally in one trading session. By the way, as we're talking this morning, you see the marketplace ramping up over here. I wouldn't read too much into it because a little bit of a catch-22. So the ticks are still negative, but that's kind of a moot point because they're not really all that negative. The advanced decline line is actually turning negative. All you're seeing right now is the impact of a couple of tech stocks. And the irony is this morning, the tech stocks, again, it's like every like day you wake up and go, rotate. They go, that one's not working. Rotate to this one. So today is Meta. It's Meta's day, and apparently a little side order of Google, but Tesla's not feeling it. Oh, but still, my heart, it's down. This one actually looks like it's going to need some sell side activity, though. Tesla looks like it's going to get smoked, and Nvidia is just flatlined. Speaking of Nvidia, okay, has done absolutely nothing. Following, I mean, look, Nvidia was the reason that we actually took off to the upside on Wednesday's trading session. And again, like every day, we're having to point to like, oh, this day it was this stock's fault. Oh, this day, it's like legging into stuff kind of periodically. But yeah, most sectors though, not a lot of performance. I mean, you can say that the financials this week they are basically at the upper edge of the expected move. The energy sector is massively unchanged this week. Nvidia, okay, picked up to the upper edge of the expected move, but Nvidia hasn't done squat. It's 2 weeks. Okay, this is the first week it's actually popped. But I keep saying this to people, even if you're bullish in Nvidia, which I happen to have a bullish trade on for Nvidia right now, but even if you're bullish in Nvidia, I believe you want the stock to flatten out or at least pull back to regain maybe a little bit of energy. Okay, another strive to the upside. By the way, I got to send this in-out spread out, so bear with me here for just 1 second as I send this one out. We are selling the 215s, buying the 217 halves, $1.77, 50 cent per gain. Cool. We're going to send this one out right now. So I'm going to post this inside of the chat room, make sure everybody sees it. Wow, somebody filled $1.85. Well, that's good then. This is going to be an easy fill. I could have been somebody. I could have been somebody. Look at this thing. It's $1.90. Everybody's going to get filled. Everybody's having a party in that one. So gold is definitely rambunctious this morning. Well, I'm glad we got out of that one.
Still moving too.
Yeah, I'm glad we got out of that one because Walmart right now sucks. Okay. Walmart sucks, man. Nothing is going to be done in Walmart right now. I have 7 days left to live, and I'm not going to do anything in the trade. So I also happened to put on a Costco, in-out spread in Costco the other day too. Yeah, what are you thinking?
See, I told you.
Told me what?
No, I'm talking to the chat, not you. Costco, I'm bullish Costco. I've been bullish in Costco for months and months and months. So I'd say keep that thing going. For those in the deep current stuff and the things we're doing long term.
All right, I put on
do
the
have,
bearish side of that. Just I put on the bearish side of that. I'm just letting you know right now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm on the
Yeah.
opposing side of this one.
Yeah.
And to be fair with you, I'm not like, hugely bearish in here. It was very simple. It had a little bit of a pullback. I'm looking for this channel kind of action. So I'm not sitting here like foaming in my mouth, bearish long term or anything like that. I'm looking for like a little bit of a pullback. That was it. And that's kind of always my take though, like in-out spreads. Like I get the best emails. How could you be, bullish on this, or how could you be bearish on this? I'm like, I'm really not. I just look,
Right.
I'm just looking for that short, like term, like little volatility pops along the way, and like that works for me. And I've kind of stayed away from tech. I'll tell you why I'm staying away from tech. It's a crap fest, and the skew has been so high lately. And I know I'm jumping around here a little bit, but like just take a look at skew. Okay, where we are right now, it's so high that it's making it next to impossible to trade spreads and be bullish. Like I can do bullish spreads like in Nvidia because there's an inverted implied volatility skew, but it's hard. It's hard out there to be like, here's a $2 wide spread for like 93 cents. Like that trade actually fits. It's not half bad, but at the same time, I'm like, just want to puke being bullish in Nvidia. By the way, I have another account where I'm bullish in Nvidia, just so we're clear. I do have another account where I'm bullish in Nvidia, but it's tech right now. It's funky because the volatility is so kicking right now. It's so high that you can be right on some of these spreads, but there's too much premium built into the options, and it's hard to make money in them.
Well, Palantir has melted all the way back to its record highs, and hasn't hit normal volume in 2 weeks.
You're really going to make me pull up that man's companies?
I see. You feel the same about him that I do about Jack Dorsey.
Oh, Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey is just, I actually appreciate him. Anybody that's a multi-billionaire and looks homeless, I'm cool with that. He has the
Wearing Jeep shirts. No, sorry.
well,
Oh,
really gonna take a shot at the Jeep shirt. All right.
No, I like the Jeep shirt.
I gotta tell you,
that's the vehicle I abandoned this week. I got rid of my Jeep
You got rid of a Jeep? People shouldn't do
this
that.
week.
You know what? I'm so upset because
I would
I'm
say
up
a
here in the
Land Rover
mountains.
shirt would be better, but that's okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Look, if I wanted a British problem, I would, watch the Tories lose now. Anyway, the
Oh man,
it's ugly.
what does that say about
What's
Rishi
going on in the
Sunak,
S&P?
man? It's like,
Okay. The political upheaval in the British Parliament. Okay. I love it when they get angry there. Anyway, I'm not sure what happened in the S&Ps in the last couple of seconds, but it's big and it's spectacular. And I'm going to lead it into Nvidia over here, which looks like it's part of the cause, as well as some of the price action inside of Tesla, which is unhinging the S&Ps a little bit.
Yeah.
So we are starting to see a little bit of a sell side marketplace. Nevertheless, though, even though you saw the S&Ps pull back, I just want to show you, it's a tale of two very, I mean, the bifurcation even within the sector itself is wild. But what people are missing right now, if Nvidia and Tesla move, now we all have to agree, Tesla is a little peon in comparison to Nvidia, but Tesla's implied volatility makes it worth a crap load more. Remember, you have to kind of volatility adjust stuff. And one aspect it's so cool to watch, like you could see Microsoft ripping to the upside, which ironically it is kind of ripping to the upside, but it doesn't mean squat, like nobody gives a damn, because Nvidia's volatility is such that, well, look, okay, when Nvidia moves, it moves more pissed off than Microsoft does. And bottom line is the weight of market cap, although critically important, volatility, still resonates even more. And that's why, these two products, like for years, you guys know I've used this monster of tech symbol, which is a conglomerate symbol of, well, here, take a look. It's Meta and Apple and Microsoft and Google and Amazon. And I haven't updated the symbol recently because it's not that I don't care, and it's impossible to kind of include Tesla in there, and it's been kind of impossible to include Nvidia. And the reason being is then I would have to start volatility adjusting everything, because Nvidia's vol is over double what it is in a Microsoft or an Apple, and Tesla's vol is 3 times what it is in other products. So it's chaos, I tell you, chaos. Sorry, we were back to Costco. So let's jump back to Costco. If you guys haven't noticed, I tend to jump around a little bit. So Costco's upper edge of the expected move. Look, in Costco, as I was saying a moment ago, I just like the chop. Just give me more chop. The only thing that always makes me nervous in Costco is same store sales month over month. That kind of gets a little bit wild. But I gave myself 35 days, right? So I can see that some people are still trying to fill this trade, which is fine. My contract size is only a few hundred contracts. But that's okay. We'll get it there. But with 35 days left, there's no need to panic. Okay, we're not going anywhere. We're fine in that trade. It's the Walmart trade that I'm getting a little nervous in. I'm not sure we're going to have time to pull this back in. We could use Walmart at 66. I just need one big day. Just one big day. Blake, your thoughts on Costco? Because I don't like your thoughts on cars. So let's get into Costco. Let's do this.
I just think
Brandon
Costco's
bringing
been
up Land Rover. I almost lost that one. Sorry. I continue.
Yeah.
Continue.
I mean, Land Rover is amazing if you want to own it the first year.
See, I've owned Land Rovers for since 2006.
Okay, can you mute him?
I haven't had that many. I haven't had that many issues.
No, I was just thinking to myself.
Costco has just been a steady, and I was going through and looking at stagflation time periods. I was going through and looking at uh, any time that there is a inflationary moment, Costco maintains, because half of its money comes from its membership, half of its money comes from its margins. And so Costco is just, it's a safe long-term play. And I agree with you. I'm big on the belief that Don can take a bearish position, and it's bearish-ish, while I'm in a long-term bullish position. He can win on his and I can win on mine. If there's
Absolutely.
different time frames,
Everyone
we
gets
can
a
be
trophy.
completely, yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is that he's playing a very different move, and his doesn't break my move. It doesn't destroy this long-term trade that can continue to pay out covered calls, and because we're long the stock and selling calls against it. So to me, this is a great move today, and even though it could fall back to your 840 target or 845 target, that doesn't hurt my long-term perspective on Costco.
Yeah, that and when I take the bearish side of it and Blake's bullish, if I do make a couple of bucks on it, I get to cheer for that, 5-minute period. I'm like, I told you. I actually, you know what? In technical sense, I actually agree with you. I mean, bear with me on this thought. Look at a 15-year in here. Like it's insane. I mean, look, this is as bubble-horrific as almost anything else out there. It's insane. And I'm not like, look, I don't want to diminish Costco at all and their growth, but this is insane. I mean, can you really, is this all inflation? Because if you want to know what the impact of inflation is to a marketplace, I think you probably have to look at something like Costco, because I would agree the exact time that it took off, though, to the upside. The irony is that's when the Fed was actually raising rates dramatically. I also take a look at Walmart, which looks almost identical, not obviously not going to be the percentage moves per se of Costco, but looking at these two like on a 15-year, it's not awe-inspiring to me. It's freaking scary. It's really scary because, this thing looks like it's the latest, greatest tech stock. I mean, Blake, just for what it's worth, got a stock that's Costco. It's up 33% on a year-to-date basis in a marketplace that you can say the market's performing. Tech's performing. The market isn't.
And
You
they
could just
didn't
barely make
raise
ground.
their membership rates, and that's where you keep people going back.
Yeah, well, I don't even know what I pay anymore. I really don't. I have no idea. I use it
You got to
enough.
be an executive.
I
Be an executive
am.
member. Yeah, yeah.
Just leave me alone. I think I
But
return more stuff there than I buy these days.
You're one of
Uh,
those guys.
no, actually,
take it back a
I'm
year
really not.
later,
You know
dragging it
what?
in. It's all abused and
I have this
in shopping
conversation with
cart.
my wife all the time. Like, if I buy something, I'm not buying it because I want to return it. She'll buy something and I'm like, why are you buying that? She goes, I don't know. I'll just return it. I can't do that. Like when I go in there, if I buy, I have intent, people. I know what I want and I'm getting it. Even if it's something I don't even need and I get it in Costco, I'm freaking owning it. I can't, I'm not, I'm not the return kind of guy. And
You,
once a year or something, I have to go with like a shopping cart full of her crap that she bought, it's embarrassing. And I try to drag her with me. And of course, she doesn't want to come with me in the time that we actually return stuff. This is how I get tormented. Yeah.
you look at those
Blake's looking at
charts,
me.
you're
He's
like,
like, you do that too?
I mean,
Sorry.
aren't those charts very representative of companies that have like 2.5% profit margins?
Just
Well,
consistently growing like that.
consistent growth,
Theirs is 11%,
right?
roughly. Yeah.
Consistent growth, though, and this kind of parabolic move are two different things. They just are. I mean, you even look at the financials; they don't even look like that. It's the entire financial sector. Look at companies like Netflix. I'm giving you a compare and contrast over here, just to some other like wild charts where it doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. Caterpillar, is it that much better off? I mean, because we try to make some fundamental or some technical arguments. I think that there could be some good technical analysis arguments here, but I have a tough time with the fundamentals right now, other than saying that inflation is so horrendous, okay, that your dollar's worth not a damn thing, and the S&P goes up because of inflation. That is the only way that you can make like logical sense of some of the moves that you're seeing on the screen right now. including
Domino's
yeah,
Pizza making 60%.
I don't eat that crap.
I'm just saying, just right up.
I don't eat that crap, and I
And
definitely am not
they're
driving a
not
Land
making.
Rover. You can go take your Domino's pizza with your
I don't
crappy
like Domino's.
Costco chicken in your Land Rover. You know,
No, Don, come on now. The person driving the
I'm
Land
gonna
Rover
put it
is
into my plug-in
they're
electric cooler.
delivering the Domino's pizza.
if somebody's delivering a Domino's pizza in a Land Rover, I'm in the wrong friggin' business. All right. So, yeah, so it's only $11 per gallon, to get somewhere. Anyway, let's go back to Tesla for a second, because as I was telling you guys, you were talking about this in the pre-market, and I was almost falling out of my seat. People were getting very anti-EV. Look, I'll try to explain it the best I possibly can over here. But there were comments. Brandon, I heard you talking about a couple of different EVs that are good. Maybe.
Yeah, well, so we're talking about, like, the solid state battery play, which is Toyota Motor Company, QuantumScape, QS. And obviously, just showing back in 2020, I mean, Tesla had way overrun in terms of valuation, had pulled forward a lot of future earnings growth, and it already had mined the future for the present. And so I wrote an article for our blog just talking about how Tesla it's been priced in, and if you're going to buy an EV company, by Toyota Motor Company.
Okay.
But that's recently changed with regards to Tesla. We've fast forward, the stock's virtually appreciated nothing in the last 3 years. We're now seeing this breakout, and as you mentioned, skew, we have some rising call volatility on Tesla, which makes those out of the money call spreads relatively cheaper. Um, Even 42 days out in the August, I'm like, the call volatility is rising. And we're very
Yeah.
high at 82%, percentile. But
So I often describe like Tesla. By the way, I am short term, I was bullish on Tesla. I bailed out of the bullish trade the other day, which was a catapult trade.
yeah,
So I'm out of the bullish trade in Tesla. The way to describe though Tesla is here, I'll ask you, Brandon, did you own a BlackBerry in like 2008?
I did not own a BlackBerry.
You didn't know BlackBerry? What the
I
hell
was
did you
I
own?
wasn't in management. Come on.
D- Blake, did you have what kind of a phone did you have
Why did I
before an
want a phone with a
iPhone?
bunch of little buttons on it? I went with the
Ugh,
Pantech. Do you know what the
no,
Pantech was? It
no.
was the smallest handheld phone ever produced. It was
Is that the one
parodied,
that's folded too?
parodied in Zoolander. It's just
Okay,
like, hey, how's it going?
Blake,
We used to
dumb.
put a premium on phones that were small and small and
Don, I think you're getting the full picture. Brandon drives a Land Rover.
I got it. I got it. The
I
way I
want
was
the
trying to
smallest
describe
phone
it
in my
though,
pocket because there was
no,
no
like
features. Just calling
Dimitri,
people.
Dimitri, the Razor was like years before the damn BlackBerry.
I did have the
So
StarTAC. This is back in the a little bit before that, but
yeah, that's
Motorola.
StarTAC. That's Razor. That's Razor times. Like Blake, Blake, did you own a BlackBerry?
I did at one point,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, with the little knob right in the middle of
Right.
the things.
Push that aside. Is that 2 years after you owned a BlackBerry, which was like the most revolutionary thing, which is a BlackBerry Pearl. And Brandon's actually right. They being the powers that be. If you were on Thinkorswim and like TD Ameritrade, pretty much had to have the BlackBerry. 2 years later, everybody had an iPhone. That's Tesla, and that's what people don't really get about it. Is that here's the bottom line. You can buy an EV if you want, but there is no other EV than Tesla. And because it's not about the damn car. And if one more person says, I don't like the way it looks, like it ain't not about the damn car. Nobody gives a damn like about the car. It's the operating system. It's
Yep.
so freaking far beyond, like people don't get it. They simply don't get it because you have to actually not just drive one like once or twice. That's just sheer stupidity. I drove it once or twice. Okay. That's like somebody handing you an iPhone for 10 minutes and you go, I don't even know what the hell to do on this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, driving it is incredible, but look, what that thing can do is so far beyond any crap that you could possibly own. And I have owned everything. I've owned literally everything. And I have friends that like, my buddy bought a Lucid piece of crap, sold it. Has the 7 Series, that's a EV 7 Series. piece of crap. He still owns that one. He was actually a huge, Elon Musk fan. But the point that I'm trying to make is you can't understand it until you've driven it for like a period of time. And I'm on my second Tesla now, and I'm not a big Tesla fanboy, but every time that I go, and obviously I go from driving like a Tesla, then I fly to the island and I hop in a Jeep. Okay. By the way, I totally love my Jeep. I'm wearing a Jeep t-shirt because I love my Jeep.
Right.
But it's like going back in time. Like literally, you're turning a key. The hell. By the way, I still have a 2017 the JK Wrangler modified. It's awesome, right? You still turn a key and stuff, and people will never get that. It's the operating system. When you start looking at Tesla, it's not a freaking car company. Okay, it's beyond in some respects Chat GPT. Like the freaking thing drives itself.
Well,
I use it
the
all the
big
time.
thing is that it's not just it is I wouldn't limit to the OS. It's that the OS and every component in it are operating on the same OS. You can't buy any other vehicle out there that has all of its components that are built around the same system. And so you buy a GM, you have Bosch parts. It's just the way it is. And so, and again, doesn't mean I like Tesla, but I do respect, like was just said in the chat, Tesla's a great computer, but it's an okay car.
That's
I
not
mean,
far off. Like Porsche Taycan drives way better. I was reading one of the comments in
Oh,
here.
it's amazing. The
You know
Taycan is
what? So we own
amazing.
one of those too. So we don't own a Taycan, but we own a Porsche too. My wife actually drives a Porsche SUV, and but you cannot even put it on the same thing. By the way, Porsche themselves actually said if they can do half as good as what the Model S was, and this is what they said when they were building the Taycan, then we've actually hit our mark. By the way, that car also costs about $30,000 more than my Tesla does. It's crazy expensive.
well,
Anyway,
isn't Tesla really one of the original AI companies? I mean, self-drive technology and all this stuff. But with Tesla though, the margins just aren't the same as these like an NVIDIA that's producing chips, for example. Well, they don't manufacture anything, but a lot of the tech companies do have better margins. But you read about Tesla Energy and you're wondering, okay, there's potential real growth in the other businesses that are within Tesla as well. And again, I'm like, you think about AI, I mean, Tesla is AI as well.
yeah, I like that. A Porsche SUV is all kinds of wrong. First of all, we have 3 children, okay? And my wife actually drives. I mean, my wife drives to the point where she goes through tires faster than I do. So yeah, that's
Try a
it is
minivan
what
that
it
like
is.
30,000 miles tops.
Yeah, she wouldn't do a minivan. No, no.
Well,
My wife,
when you got
my
set,
wife
when you have
is,
five
yeah.
kids, it's
You need a bus, man. You need a bus. By the way, did you go to fireworks last night? You have 5 kids. Did you do fireworks?
so my sister, like their neighborhood, a guy owns like a fireworks company, like a fireworks company, and
Ooh, sweet.
they put on a show, and then there's competition. So we had some fireworks. We're just sitting in the driveway and just watching the neighbors just put on, because we can do aerials here in Utah, and that's what we do on, at least on July 4th.
Yeah, I'm up here in Payson, and I actually I took only 2 out of the 3 kids wanted to go, so I took 2 of the kids in the Tesla to go see some fireworks. By the way, the reason I was saying it was so ridiculous, the vehicle was I was literally thinking about last night. So I'm leaving the fireworks show last night. When you're up here in this mountain town, there's no streetlights at all, and I'm in a neighborhood where after I actually get through the gate into the neighborhood, I got to drive about 4 miles, and it's absolutely pitch black. And they have a new update, which it just loaded it like I don't know 2 weeks ago on the Tesla, to where in autopilot it already knows a turn is coming, so it predictively like shifts the headlights coming around the corner, looking for animals and so forth. It's ridiculously cool. And I've never had it to where before the wheel actually even turns, the headlights are already making the turn. So I got that going for me. There's
Yeah,
so
but see,
many
Don, like
nuances.
I
It's
can't consider
ridiculous.
technology. I got to consider legroom. So it's like, and my oldest son, like he's 6'6" and he's all legs, and I've got 4 boys, and it's like, okay, like even getting in a Suburban, like it's less comfortable than our Honda Odyssey.
You know what? I'm 5'8". That ain't my freaking problem now, is it?
So I'm like considering legroom, right?
Me neither. I'm with you.
What can I fit these These boys into, you know.
Yeah, well, my boy might make 5'8". You know, at least my wife is almost as tall as me, so I'm trying to give my offspring a fighting chance. That's exactly what I was thinking. It wasn't about the woman; it was about the height. Um,
My wife's
so
like 6'2", so we're almost the same
I
height.
know,
I got her by like an inch and a half or inch, a little over an inch, but
I know, I've met her. I mean, you guys are going to produce some like some couple of full basketball team over there. It's good stuff.
see.
It's good stuff. The S&Ps are killing me right now. I mean, they're just killing me because we're slopping around. Look at this little defection inside of the financials. The energy sector is getting popped. All you have right now, standing between you and the abyss, is Tesla came back on the day. Tesla's the reason the S&Ps actually popped, and now they're fading a little bit. But so I want to back up for just a second. I can't sit today. So I want to back up for a second and just make a quick point over here. What you're seeing today is not low volume, okay? It's not low volume. Look at the S&Ps. That's getting some crap done. What you're actually seeing though is the impact of a high volatility, one individual equity product with high volatility, okay, that is shifting the S&Ps. And what's really crazy is look at Meta. Okay, that thing is on fire. It's up 3%. The S&Ps can barely hold it together right now because there's drag coming from the financials. There's drag coming right now from the energy sector. But cruising up here, it's Nvidia right now and Tesla that are kind of holding the whole thing together. Yes, I see the Nasdaq all kinds of bid up right now. Well, we'll see if that's going to be maintained. Again, the SPX has a very critical level here at 55.19. And by the close today, I think we're actually going to see that make an appearance. So don't get all kinds of freaked out if we back off. Like that's not a big, strategic move. We all have to put into perspective right now that we're now dealing with a $5,600 product, and even a 20-point move inside of the S&Ps is like it's like nominal. And it's just like, oh, it's a 100-point move inside of the Nasdaq, which is not even a 0.5% anymore. It's almost hard to keep up with that stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, everybody's I like what Mark, and they're buying Meta. Thank you very much, Captain Obvious. Not supposed to be yelling at people in the chat. By the way, somebody was talking about a Mini Cooper. There was a comment, Brandon, that you made, and Blake, you commented on it as well. By the way, the SPX getting popped right now. There was a comment about something about Brandon versus, what was it, an elk or something like that in a Geo Metro. And
Oh yeah.
but I was like thinking to myself, I'm calling BS because there's no
Well,
chance you're ever going to fit in a Geo Metro.
no, Geo Metro is like it was my wife's car from Carl. This is like a long time ago. It's over 20
It
years
was a
ago. But
Metro sedan, not the egg.
it was the sedan, right? It was not the hatchback. But
So 20 years ago, you were only like
but those seats go
6'2".
back. They slide back, right? The width
He
wise, not
he
great. But
removed the seat and sat in the back seat.
oh, I had a friend, like he was 6'8", like he totally did that, but it's in high school. But yeah, like we're driving to I'm driving to Cody, heading over the mountain, and I'm looking. There's a field out there. There's moose, and I missed the moose that was in the stand of trees off the side of the road, and this big bull moose just steps out, and I just freaked out, and just quickly got in reverse and backed up, and I was like, holy crap. Yeah, you don't want to see a bull moose standing in front of you.
Again, I said it before. You didn't do anything quickly in a Geo Metro. You didn't back
but I was
up
going
quickly.
uphill, though.
You didn't leave
Doesn't the
quickly.
downhill help?
You have
6'4".
one foot out of the door doing the skateboard technique.
I'm starting to question Brandon's judgment altogether over here. Being over 6 foot, there was a Geo Metro. There's Land Rover discussion over here. I'm starting to question
my
judgment.
Land Rovers have been like, there's little things that you know, right? You just got to know it, but I haven't had any major issues. I've had a Discovery. I have my LR3 is like almost 18 years old now, 180,000 miles.
So one of my neighbors on the island, he's about 3 doors down. He owns 2 Land Rovers, one which is the newer Defender, which, by the way, I absolutely love the look of that thing.
Yeah.
So it's a newer Defender, and then he owns like the original like Land Rover, and it's all like redone. The thing's expensive, and he's trying to talk me into getting a Defender and shipping it to the island, and I'm like, oh, it's all kinds of wrong. It'll be rusted. He goes, yeah, but then we can split the cost of flying the mechanic out here once a year. And I'm like,
Well,
oh my God. He was serious though.
there's
Look, he flies he flies a Land Rover mechanic
yeah.
from Southern Florida once a year to the island. And that mechanic actually goes around like the neighborhood to all the different Land Rovers. Dead serious on that. And he goes, it'd only be like, a couple $100. He's like, it's cheaper than taking it to Land Rover.
I have to admit, I would not like getting a newer Land Rover with all the electronics and technology. That makes me nervous. So I still have my LR3, which there's a little bit of technology in it, but I could swap out the driveline easily myself, like on a trail, right? I'm like, it's independent suspension. That's not great, but those are pretty reliable. But yeah, but the newer generation ones are tough. I
My
like the
car has
Lexus
3
though. The
motors.
Lexus GX.
I just saw
Pretty
that
cool.
last night for the first time. I
Yeah.
actually parked next to that thing last night for the first time. It looks exactly like a Land Rover.
Yeah, I
So
would go with that one.
my car has three electric motors, and I'm okay with that. I just like get in it, and I've had this is my second Tesla. My wife broke the door handle twice on the Tesla. That was my first one. Other than that, I've never had an issue.
See, I broke the door handle of my Rover because I was going through a field that had snow. Didn't notice a log that was about 6 inches wide, about 5 feet long. I gunned it at the wrong time, and the log came around and flipped it and hit the side of my car and broke the handle. So that's how I treat my Rover, man. And it still drives.
Blake, you're with me on this, right? We're starting to really question some of
Yes.
his judgment.
Oh, I've questioned it for a long
Oh,
time.
man,
All right.
my
this
old-
is
We've known
my
each
old
other for a
discovery.
very long time.
I was driving through snow, like snow was coming over the hood. That's how deep it was.
that's you might not have wanted to do that in the first place. When it snows, I look outside, I'm done. I'm done. Anyway, there's Ernie, we're not talking about trading because the S&Ps are massively unchanged.
Go nowhere.
I like this. Christian was asking me, is he a factory certified Land Rover technician? Okay. I will neither confirm nor deny, but he comes directly from a Land Rover, and you just feed him a bunch of rum when he's on the island and he fixes your car.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
I used to have
There's
an
a
old
lot of,
Iranian dude, and like
Yeah.
he retired. What am I gonna do now?
yeah. Look at this. Ticks are totally flat. The advanced decline lines flipped over a little bit, but there's not much of a read or a feel on a day where, and by the way, I'll be clear about something again. The volume in the S&Ps, before I go any further, the volume in the S&P is getting it done. That looked like it was news. Okay, there's no question to me that was some type of news. There's a lot of political crap going on right now too. So every couple of hours, I'll actually look over here at this global settings, global news, and there's not, dovish jobs report. I didn't think the jobs report was even dovish. Okay. But anyway, so I keep jumping over here to the news only because that kind of volume, there's got to be a reason for it. So you're trading today, okay, on the back of what? Financials being down again, energy effectively being down. Nvidia is off a little bit, but it's not enough. Nvidia being off is not enough to offset what is a mild bid back to Tesla, but the day belongs to Meta, okay? Even Microsoft up some like 1%, which is so cool though to see is, and the transparency today is incredible. You have a NASDAQ that's up 0.4%. It really cannot keep it together, even with Microsoft up 1%, Apple up 1.4%, Amazon's good for 0.8%, Google's 1.7%, Meta 2.5%. It doesn't make a difference. I said this in last weekend's video as tech kind of lost its mojo, and everybody would look, of course, the QQQs this week. You're going to say, hell no, man, the QQQ smashed the upper edge of the expected move. But I'll question again, as tech kind of lost its mojo, there is no tech without NVIDIA. All of a sudden, Tesla comes back to life. That's not gonna last. Tesla coming back to life, this thing is gonna mellow out to some degree. But tech it doesn't have the punch that it did even 3-4 weeks ago. The upside in the marketplace unequivocally this week belongs to Tesla. Okay. NVIDIA played somewhat of a role with the rally, of course, on Wednesdays. I mean, in Wednesday, like half a trading session. You have to love this too. When NVIDIA rallied, it was like nobody's looking. It's a half a trading session. Oh, And again, now right now we're back to sputter time in here. I am very surprised that we hadn't made more of a like dramatic or strategic pullback to the expected move. We're outside of it right now. The bonds have even pulled in a little bit. There's even good volume in the bonds. I mean, the rest of the world is up and trading. There is no July 4th elsewhere. Caterpillar's actually pulling back. Looking around the list, some of the usual suspects, pretty much all of your financials are down today. We have movement to some degree on the front of volatility. Let's talk briefly now about crypto, because I made a comment last week and I didn't trade on it. And I didn't trade on it because, quite frankly, couldn't get good pricing. I was actually looking at putting a bearish trade on BITO. I missed it. It is what it is. But now we have the full-fledged break in Bitcoin. Something to be concerned about for the broader marketplace or isolated? Let's start with
We
Blake.
we talked a little bit about this at the beginning of the session. I
Yeah.
think that we saw the volume, we saw the shift. I mean, it's all sitting in the exchanges. But to me, it was a fundamental break. There's enough money moving out and large enough chunks that I think you're probably going to play it a technical play. This could be a great technical play to duplicate that same move. And I'm looking for another $15,000 down. I think you go to 45.
Did you see that the governments around the world that are being able to acquire some Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin, through various nefarious means, like whether it was a drug deal or whatever it was. Anyway, governments around the world, they're forever destroying some of the crypto products. So leave it to a government just to throw away money. But they're actually destroying some of the crypto products, or so they say. Where
I
they're
worry about
basically
El Salvador, where they shifted their entire country's currency to it, and it's like we're going to avoid crashing our currency, so let's go ahead and buy up all of our stuff in Bitcoin.
my biggest complaint since the day we started talking about this. And by the way, I was on that trader group in the executive team with TD Ameritrade when the first discussions of crypto came out, like the very first discussions. Is this going to be a real product? And the number one thing that we came up with in that trader group was the number of transactions per second in here. So all of our tech guys jumped on that crap immediately. They said it's impossible, okay, for Bitcoin. They didn't say everything else, but they said it's impossible for Bitcoin, okay, to be transacted fast enough, the number of messages per second. Therefore, it will not ever become a major currency. Now, it took a bunch of idiots sitting in a room, 5 minutes to figure that out. Me being one of them in there, they were like, yeah, absolutely. If it can only do, I didn't know the technicals behind it, but that's exactly why we had tech team in there at the time. And they basically said, yeah, there's just no chance. It's too slow. Like, what are you supposed to do? I went and bought gas and it took 10 minutes for the transaction to actually clear.
Yeah.
So
Well, but
you
I
knew
mean,
immediately.
yeah, I mean, you're not gonna buy a soda at a gas station with Bitcoin, but you
But why
can. I mean,
not? That was the
you
whole freaking idea, is to go peer to peer and to, push the
right,
government aside. But
but
it
you
doesn't
can,
have that
but you
capability.
can convert it to, let's say, some sort of like some sort
Actual
of
currency.
token that you can transact quickly and then go back to Bitcoin for safety. But yeah, I mean, but Bitcoin, it's like gold. I mean, gold's heavy, right? Can't lug it around your pocket.
I've tried.
But so again, it's going to be more for bigger stuff. But like I give the example of this guy in Africa. I can't remember what African country it was. Bought a MacBook Pro with it, couple $1,000 out of the country, and was able to do it in one transaction. You can't do that. That was the only time you could actually buy something was with Bitcoin, not using their local currency, whatever that was. I can't remember what country it was, but it would take him multiple transactions and all these costs. So cross-border payments, is a big deal as well for Bitcoin. But
Well, I'm
the
going to tell you
technicals
something
began to
about that.
sour on Wednesday. I mean, as far as the option activity, a lot of puts being bought in Mara, for example. So it looked like, we went from Monday buying calls to Wednesday buying puts. It's kind of a transition.
So I'm still annoyed about the transaction speed in there, and
And you
that's
can either be
one
agree
thing.
with us or be wrong, Brandon. It's the game.
But again, there is changes to the Bitcoin network and how it
So what you're
works. I mean,
saying is I'm going to go buy my
it's evolved.
Coke. I'm going to transfer my Bitcoin into another crypto. Hold on a second. I'm going to transfer to another crypto so that I can buy my damn Coke. But by the way, if you start buying
Wait,
big
go to
items,
Tether.
if you start buying big items with any crypto product, and I'm going to give you the whole lowdown over here. So we live obviously in the US Virgin Islands a lot of the year. Right next to that, of course, is Puerto Rico. And there's a very nice neighborhood in Puerto Rico, and all the crypto people live in the same neighborhood. It's called Dorado, and most people know that. And there's a great taxation program down in Puerto Rico, and they will buy, expensive vehicles, sometimes from Florida, sometimes in Puerto Rico. And the IRS, actually, the United States IRS, set up a field office specifically in Puerto Rico. And every time one of those big transactions, they're like, "We got one." It's the
Well,
biggest like bust ever there. You start transacting it, and then they start knocking on your door. But
They've
that's a whole
lost
different
the
story.
anonymity, and they've proven that with the FBI and the IRS.
There's no, like, look,
there is no
there's a
anonymity.
ledger. It's a freaking
Yeah,
public ledger. And then you start getting these. I hate to call it an exchange because I can't stand this crap with Litecoin. The entire idea, by the way, I'm going off a little bit right now on crypto because the whole idea when this product first came out, okay, is that you don't need Coinbase. That's the
right.
whole idea. It's peer to peer. And I know Brandon was talking about this the other day on his on one of his sessions because I was actually listening to it. The whole idea was to go peer to peer. So now, look, you can't call Coinbase, is it an exchange? No, it's a broker. No, it's an exchange. It's a broker. Oh, and it's a market maker. So if you want to really get screwed, this is the place to go. I mean, people are like, I have an account over there. But you have to understand the regulatory agencies, they're not like if you want to, point fingers, Charles Schwab sucks. Great, you can say that. But the reality is Charles Schwab is just the broker. They're there to facilitate the trade. They're not the market maker. They're not the
Right.
exchange. And you want differentiation so that you can't have some idiots in the Bahamas, okay, go into the back door and they go, what's yours is mine, and what's mine is mine, and yours is definitely mine. And that's exactly what this is open to. Not only can they see your order flow when you actually fire any type of crypto trading, this is Coinbase, not only can see the order flow, they're taking the other side of it. And if they don't take the other side of it, okay, it's a giant internalization engine, and they're actually learning, okay, they could actually sell order flow. You have no idea what they're actually doing on the other side of this. It's one of the most nefarious places to do business right now, unless you go like purely peer to peer. I like the way that Tasty has set it up. Tasty, though, is really limited in the number of crypto products you can trade on here. They limited it because liquidity kind of dried up, and they even use a third party, to actually transact. Okay, please trade cryptocurrencies in dedicated mode. I need to change to my dedicated crypto mode. Okay, now you have to see zero hash. Anyway, I agree. So I just wanted to show that for a second.
Yeah.
I lose my mind when people start talking
Well, yeah.
about crypto and then trading it
So
through like Coinbase.
crypto's supposed to be decentralized finance. Coinbase is centralized finance, right? I'm like, it's all there. I'm like, yeah, they're a leech on the back of a you know blockchain.
Yeah,
Plus,
yeah.
plus they advocate for regulation. I'm like, at various stages, I mean, they're advocating for regulation to make them relevant because they are irrelevant. They're not needed. They're
Well,
extraneous.
of course. Of course, we need more regulation. So look, Coinbase is big enough now that they can actually lobby, and they are lobbying heavily. A lot of people don't know that all of your brokerage firms have lobbyists. Huge amounts of money is coming out of the brokerage firms to lobby. I mean, we're not just talking about like a JP Morgan or anything like that. The capital at even like, when I was at TD Ameritrade coming into lobby Congress is huge. Of course, they want regulation because Coinbase was this close to getting kicked out of the United States. They almost had to go offshore. And that was a landmark ruling that it helped them. It was on their behalf. So the name of the game today is, again, buy a little bit of tech and basically sell anything and everything else. So same story, different day. I'm looking for some price action here. There's one trade that I want to get on later today. I've been looking to, I might actually put on a catapult and something like Lily. I'll look at this later today. It's an idea, right? Okay. Making people thin and making market cap grow. That's the name of Lilly over here. Look at this. You're approaching now a trillion dollar company. I can't believe I'm even saying that right now. So, but if you talk about like disruption, whenever you guys think about like disruption, you usually think about technology. Think about like Lilly, Eli Lilly, and like disruption for like junk food. They've done damage, like real inflicted damage to the entire economy because of one freaking drug that apparently makes only a handful of people blind, but that's a different story entirely. Did you guys see that, the article about
Yeah.
that? Yeah, it
Yep.
was well, article. It's a paper about that.
Study.
So, but don't worry, you'll be thin. Okay.
Yeah. You'll look great, but you won't know it.
Oh, you'll know it. You'll know it. People will
So,
say stuff. Yeah.
there's a German girl at my brother's house yesterday. We went there for July 4th, and like, so like, so what do you think? Do you guys have any American food style food in Germany? She kind of looked at me like, what? like, but she did hear like all these people in Germany saying, well, you Americans, it's like you don't eat salad. She's like, so well, I did notice you guys do have salad places, but talking about how sweet the food is, right? Does not liking the chocolate and all this other stuff. And I'm like, we are kind of sugar people, but hey, like maybe no more, right? We're becoming Europeanified through through Ozempic.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm laughing hysterically over here at some of the comments. Yeah, I'm getting people started in here. There's actually there's going to be some competitors though to this. I would say like this thing will still be on a bit of a run, but there's definitely going to be some competitors to it. If you hadn't looked at this firm, Hims and Hers, okay, this is just wild. They're basically making a compounded version of Ozempic through, and obviously Ozempic is still categorically protected under patent restrictions, but because there's a shortage of it, there's a little known loophole in FDA. These guys are actually making a version of it. They've contracted a third party company to do so. Wild story though about it. Not good at all. And I am shocked that the street hasn't taken these guys to the woodshed, that they're actually still in business. It's that bad for some of the aspects they're doing. But the stock is up 110%. This is one where, yeah, scary stuff, man. Very scary stuff. By the way, I'm realizing we're going to run out of time here
Just remember,
momentarily.
it's better than Olean. Remember Olean?
I
The
don't.
fat substitute they fried chips in,
Oh
and
yeah, that's
Oh
right. Olean
yeah,
potato chips.
Olestra. Olestra.
Olestra, yeah,
Yeah.
Olestra and
Yeah.
Olean, yeah, where you
Little
you
little
you
side
lost
effect where you're like,
weight, but a little side effect.
oh.
Better, better.
Right. It's
I
like
I choose blindness.
that created a big boost for Charmin, I think.
You know, Blake wore a diaper for a year, but it was a good year. Okay. The ladies liked it. Oh, I totally forgot about Olestra. What's amazing about that is everybody kind of pushed that one aside a little bit, but that was in like every single potato chip. Like
Yeah.
everybody was using it. Yeah, I have to be honest, I've lost a lot of trust and a lot of faith in the FDA. I won't be first one through the door. We were talking about that Cybertruck earlier. Everything that originally comes out, like the first version of it from
Yeah.
Tesla, my friend actually had a Tesla Model S after they did the refresh. I think it was in 2021. We're actually up here in Payson, and the car, gets delivered. There was an airbag hanging out the bottom of the door. There was like all of this like huge gaps in the body panels. It was
Oh man.
disaster. And
Wasn't it a
yeah,
plaid too?
that one was not.
Oh,
His
okay.
was not. It was before they even released the plaid. He had like, it was like number 11. Like this guy's crazy. Like the second they announce any new car, buys it. Like literally buys it. He is a large child. And that's why he got the Lucid. He said it was the biggest disappointment ever. He had a Lucid, and it was one of the first deliveries. And Lucid they're making them here in Arizona. And he went to Casa Grande and actually picked up his Lucid. Got to meet some of the executives over there. Car looked beautiful, drove beautifully. It was the worst operating system ever in it. So it's gone. Oh, I've got to turn it over. I think they're getting angry at us. They're getting angry at us. So we're going to turn it over to the professor. Jeff Bierman's going to come on here momentarily. What is the professor going to be talking about today? I don't know. Oh, technical geometry, professor's angle on Gann indicators part 2. So the S&Ps, okay, bottom line here is big divergence, right? Russell's down, Dow is down, NASDAQ is higher. From my perspective, okay, at this point, I still look for the S&Ps to make some degree of a pullback, and specifically, okay, to pull back just here to this 55.19. Nothing too crazy. Like right now, we're all kinds of bid up, but yeah, we're up there. We're just not really getting much done. I mean, we're meandering kind of forward over here, but I have to tell you, tech could not possibly be stronger. It's going to take an Nvidia and a Tesla both pull tech down. Volume is starting to drop a little bit. Is it really holiday trade? Of course, but there's still quite a bit of volatility packed in for not only today, but last thing I'll give you is, and I'll talk about this, I'm going to do the weekend update later today, but you start looking 7 days out. There's quite a bit of volatility still packed in for next week. I know there's a CPI print coming. Guys, I want to thank you guys for hopping in here and joining us today. And we'll call it a session over here. We'll turn it over to Jeff Bierman. Thanks again, everybody, for coming out. Have a wonderful